All right, we're back again with another book review and a slightly different camera angle because I wanted to show my sci-fi books a little bit. So let's talk about Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Dark Matter is a sci-fi thriller suspense sort of novel. It's only about 350 pages or so, which means it's actually super easy to read and get through. You can read this in generally a sitting or a day or two. This book is a suspense thriller at its core, as well as a love story with sci-fi elements blended in with that. And that's mostly from the alternate realities, multiverse concept that this book revolves around. So you start off with Jason Dessen, and this is not a spoiler, this is like introductory story elements. This happens in the first chapter. Jason Dessen is a physics teacher at sort of like a community college, local college in Chicago. And he previously was this basically a super genius that was going to be at the forefront of the science world, given billions of dollars to create, what is essentially a cube to travel through time or through the multiverse. And he sort of abandoned that when he was rather young because his girlfriend at the time, Daniela, now his wife, got pregnant and they had a kid. And he sort of abandoned his work and settled down, lives a regular life with his wife and kid. He goes to work every day and is generally happy, but sort of mundane. And he's always kind of thinking about what could have been had Daniela followed her art and became, a world famous artist. What would have happened to my life if I had, put her to the side and really pursued my work, and how could I have impacted humanity and the world that way? So what happens is he's out with his buddy at a bar. They're having a couple drinks, celebrating him. I believe his name was Ryan, because in Jason's world, Ryan was the one that ends up going on and becoming that, world famous scientist. He has a bunch of breakthroughs in science and technology and becomes sort of famous. Jason has a good time, whatever. He decides to go home. I think the way this is structured is he takes a slightly different route home, and he walks a little bit of a longer sort of scenic route, and his wife is texting him saying like, hurry home, blah, 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 blah. And long story short, he gets attacked, kidnapped, drugged, put in the car, told to drive to a certain location at gunpoint, where he is then knocked unconscious. And he wakes up and he's in a lab and he doesn't know what the fuck is happening. And he is Jason Dessen, but the Chicago and the world that he wakes up in is no longer his own. And everybody around him seems to be talking to him as if he's Jason and they all know him, but he doesn't know them, or some of them that he does know, they're acting different. And he's sort of realizing that, okay, this is not the Chicago that I was in when I got knocked unconscious. And that's sort of where you go with the rest of the story. Now, I don't want to get into too much detail on like the multiverse aspect in this. I mean, if you know what that is, you can kind of guess where some of this is going to go. But basically the entire story is, how can he get back to his world, to his family? Can he get back to Charlie and Daniela? Is that even possible? Now, what's really cool and interesting about this book is the different science concepts that Blake Crouch hits on. I don't know if he's a scientist himself in his former life or current life, but what I do know is that from my understanding of these different concepts, like the multiverse, string theory, things like that, he seems to have done his research, and he's actually brilliantly able to explain these in layman's terms throughout this book, where these big, high-minded, crazy concepts that are super technical and intense and difficult to understand, he explains it like you're five. And that's because Jason in this world is explaining it to other characters like, bear with me for a second, this is what this is, and sort of explains how this could function in reality and how it's a little bit crazy that it's happening. So you have this excellent, smart blend of that science that doesn't get bogged down in it. It's not quite as descriptive and detailed and info dumpy as some other sci-fi are, but there is enough of it that I was actually genuinely surprised at how intelligent this book felt and how well researched it seemed that the science was. So he does a great job with the concepts of this book, which actually leads me into some of the themes of this book. So in combination with the scientific theories and things like that, this book deals a lot with sort of like the path not taken, what could have been, sort of the extent to which you would go to get back your loved ones. I mean, this guy wakes up and he doesn't have his wife and his kid. Like, that's fucking terrifying. And to realize that the world that you're in isn't yours and you have to figure out how to get back to your reality, like, that's just a scary thought. And who knows if you could even get back to it. Like, that's It's a pretty messed up situation to be in. It deals with, love and what makes a person. Like, we're dealing with multiverse here. Like, what makes this Jason different from a different variation of him? Like, is the multiverse even a thing? Could that possibly exist? Like, what tiny little differences would actually make you you? And could somebody else even tell the difference? So it deals with a lot of these concepts, and it's really impressive how well paced this book is, considering how heavy these concepts can be, because this is a true page turner of a book. I mean, this reads sort of like a screenplay because it's first person present. So, I walk over and do this, I set down my backpack, things like that. It almost reads as if this should be a movie or should be a show, which it would be great because that would be just a really cool thrill ride to watch on screen. So that's sort of the vibe that I got from this book. I don't know if it's supposed to be adapted or not, but that's just what I got out of it while I was reading it, that this would be really fun to watch. And I had a really good time with it. If I had to say any negatives about it, this wasn't a personal thing for me, but the style of writing the first person present narrative might turn some people off. A lot of people don't like that, so that is what this is. And also, the characters are what they are. They're not great. They're not any like standout characters. There's only so much you can do with a thriller where it's more about the plot and the setup of what's happening, less so than the actual character himself. Obviously, Jason is far and away the best character of the book because there's so many different dynamics to him and different angles that you could look at him from. Everybody else is kind of there for the most part. I don't think anyone's really like unique in any sort of way, but that's not really what this book is about. This is really about that main central focus of the plot, which is done very, very well. It's paced wonderfully. This really does just go page to page. It gets really intense at times, suspenseful, downright creepy sometimes as well. And it was just really well done. This is the first Blake Crouch that I've ever read, and it was awesome. So I definitely highly recommend reading this book. It was super fun, super cool, and it's a quick read. So check it out if you haven't. If you have, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of it. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What Blake Crouch would you recommend that I read next? So that's going to do it though, guys. Like and subscribe. As always, do hit a Patreon if you want to support the channel financially. And what I do here, that's always optional, but greatly appreciated. Definitely jump in Discord though and continue the conversation there. Or like I said, drop in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts on this book and what you liked, didn't like. And until next time, guys, keep reading.